Buongiorno, and welcome to another video. If you've been following me for a while and watching some of my videos, you know how strongly I encourage savings. But Americans, if you're American watching this video, we're not very good at saving, and even worse at putting our money in the right place. Even though the savings rate is increasing. Last year, the overall savings rate, the amount of money that people are putting away, was 4.4%. In Q1 of 2023, it had risen to over 9%, which is great. We're saving more money. However, the banks are still not paying us very much. Just a little bit over 0%, even as treasuries are 4 to 5%. They rise when interest rates rise. So if you put in $100,000 into a bank account, into your Chase, your JP Morgan Chase, or your Wells Fargo, you're going to get pretty much nothing. So you're not going to get rich putting money in your savings account earning 0.0% interest. It might be time to look at putting some of your money in a foreign bank account where you're going to earn more money. This is another example of one of the benefits to moving to another country or visiting part of the year in another country, because the systems are different in other countries. The United States doesn't have the best banking system, doesn't have the best of everything. As we've seen the last few months with the recent bank crisis, banks going under, regional banks going under, people pulling billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of deposits out of the regional banks, putting them in the big banks, which is moving power to the big banks. They're getting bigger and bigger. And also people taking money out of the banks and putting it into money market funds where they can earn more money. So one of the options is to take some money and put it into a bank in a foreign country. So some banks in foreign countries are going to give you a very high percent interest rate. For example, Egypt and Pakistani banks will pay you up to 20%. But I wouldn't recommend putting money in those countries because either the country or the banking system or the currency is unstable. So here are 5 countries that I recommend you look at as places where you might want to park some of your money. And if you live in one of these countries or near one of these countries or can easily visit or are interested in moving to one of these countries, then all the better reason to go check it out. Number 1 on the list is Cambodia, a country that we might not think of a lot, but this small Southeast Asian country can be a great place to open a savings account. And when you look at Cambodia, you don't think it's a country that might have a great savings account, but it is a surprise winner. Cambodia has been growing very quickly the last 5 years. Investors are looking at Cambodia more and more in real estate and places to park their money. The local currency, the Cambodian riel, may not be very strong, but is very stable. The rate you're paid on your money, however, fluctuates quite often. When you open your bank account, you'll get a rate between 6 and 8%, bouncing around between those two rates. If you're somebody who doesn't want to hold your savings in a foreign currency, you can hold it as US dollar, and that will get you about 4.5%, which is still pretty decent compared to the banks in the United States. If you don't mind locking up some of your funds, then consider Canada. They've got a long-term interest rate for a 2-year deposit of 5.6%. For Cambodia, there's a catch, however. You can't open your account online. You have to have good banking history and a passport and a business visa and go to Cambodia to open your account. I'm going to link an article below this video that lists all the resources, all my sources for this video, so you can check them out for yourself. Number 2 on the list is Azerbaijan. This is a small country with a good banking system, and its location is ideal for a lot of people in the region. It's kind of centrally located, and anyone can open a bank account even without a trip to Azerbaijan. But you'll need to hire an agent to help you with the whole process. But if you can, and you live in the region, consider a trip to Baku, which is worth a couple of days to check it out. They've got a rich cultural history and delicious food. That being said, what rate can you get in Azerbaijan? I kind of like to just say Azerbaijan. Such a cool name. The country offers a deposit for up to 8% annually. It used to be 10 to 12%, but some of the microbanks are offering 10%, but you have to lock it up for 2 years. But I wouldn't recommend putting your money in the microbanks, which are a little bit less stable than the larger banks that are paying you 8%. You can get a deposit in USD, but you're only earning about 2% interest. The local currency is the manat, and it's solid and hasn't moved in years, so your money will be secure. Number 3 on the list is a country that a lot of people love, is Ecuador. I was surprised when I found out, when I looked up their rates, they're currently paying 12% for a high interest earning bank account in Ecuador. That means if you put in $100,000 into the bank, you're going to be earning $1,000 a month. If you're interested in moving to the country, then that's a great way to live off your interest, is take that money, $100,000, and earn $1,000 a month. And it is very welcoming to foreign nationals to come and open up a bank account, and there are no minimum deposit requirements for a bank account in Ecuador. Number 4 is the beautiful country of Armenia. They want your money and they're giving you a great rate to attract it. So why not take a trip to Armenia? It's a beautiful place, beautiful locations. Take a trip. Most likely in a lot of these countries, including Armenia, you have to go there in person. So you need to have your documents in order, have things translated, because most people in Armenia, even in the banking sector, don't speak English. So I recommend you choose an account with USD for a high yield savings account that is currently paying 7% on interest on USD, US dollars. So the interest rate on the local currency, which is called the dram, is paying about 10%. It's held up pretty well recently against the dollar, but I don't know what the future holds. So if you want more security, then go for the US dollar account. Number 5 is South Africa. South Africa is, of course, one of the BRICS countries, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. South Africa has a great banking system and friendly policy, but isn't really talked about a lot. It's kind of forgotten, maybe because it's in Africa, but it is a strong country, has some political turmoil occasionally, but it has a great banking system. And they're currently paying as high as 8% interest on money put into the South African banking system. So you can go open a bank account and then visit the sites. USD bank accounts are not very attractive. They don't offer a high interest rate, but the local currency is pretty stable. So these are 5 countries where it may be worth looking into to open a bank account, with US banks not offering very high interest rate. They're not going above 5%. Most cases, not even going above 1%. It might be worthwhile looking at foreign international accounts for a high yield savings account. You can usually choose to receive your interest monthly or at the end of the term. End of the term may be more attractive because they might pay you a little bit more interest if you wait until the end of the term, but that means that you have to have your money locked up for the term rather than having it available every month. That's the trade-off. More interest, but also locked up. If you're inclined still toward the US banking system, then I suggest you watch this video that I recently recorded about the turmoil in the US banking system. Don't worry about foreign currencies not being stable. There are many countries that are stable, maybe even more stable than the United States, that have a great banking system, that offer accounts even in USD that have a high interest rate. However, opening a bank account in a foreign country can be a lot of work and sometimes troublesome, especially if you live far away from the country. You've got to go there in person most of the time and have documents translated into English in some cases, and it can take a lot of money and a lot of work. If you happen to live close by some of these countries, it might be worthwhile to check out what they have to offer, or if they offer online banking, it's worth checking out. Not all countries allow you to open a bank account on a tourist visa, so that means you may need to apply for and be granted a business visa in order to open up one of these accounts. Secondly, there may be some tax issues, as some countries prefer to tax the profit on the interest, which means that the actual real interest that you're earning every month or annually is less than is being reported. So make sure you read the fine print, have your attorney or your accountant look at it to see if it really makes sense. Lastly, your money may be locked away for a while. This is what savings accounts or term deposits are for. They are locked, and as I just said, you get a higher interest rate in exchange for locking your accounts. We have the same type of accounts here in the United States. Certificates of deposit generally work this way, where you lock your money up and you can't have access to it, but you get a higher interest rate. So for example, you can deposit money for a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years. Some countries offer up to 5 years, and in most cases you lock it up for those periods, and if you withdraw it before the term ends, then you're going to end up paying a penalty. So as you can see, there are a lot of options worldwide that are just as good or maybe even better than your home country. If you have the ability and have enough money that you think it's worth it and you want to travel to another country or investigate one of these countries, check it out and see if it makes sense for you. Bank accounts work similar in most countries where you lock up your money, you get an interest rate. You want to diversify potentially into multiple bank accounts, multiple currencies, multiple countries if you've got enough money to make that worth it. So if you found this information helpful and like this video, then I'd appreciate it if you give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Many more like this coming, where I'm talking about financial systems around the world, ways to invest your money, ways to save and invest more money to reach financial independence sooner and build a lifestyle that can be conducive to you traveling the world, living off your income and not worrying so much about money. And if you'd like to stay up to date on the markets and what's happening and learn some tips along the way on how to be better with your money, coming from a former financial planner and certified financial officer, then subscribe to morningdownload.com. Get the daily newsletter in your inbox every morning to get updated on what's happening in the market and how you can take advantage. See you in the next video.